Hi, Vrinda.
Hi, Harish.
Long time.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know.
Wanted to know how are you keeping? One is before we start, I think Dr. Garima Singh, the former CEO of Max City Saket, she recommended you to
Yeah.
us and said you should connect with us. Also, for the record, I think you're an extremely disciplined person. There was yoga, pranayam, jal niti, and the fantastic supplements we all Indians believe in: ashwagandha, tulsi, cinnamon, amla, all this good stuff going in. Yet there were issues that were troubling you for quite a few years. If you could just start off with, one, two, three, what happened and how things changed later.
Sure. For me, a lot of my issues started when I was in my early 20s. I went through some very emotionally traumatic, turbulent period.
Okay.
And while that was going on, I developed these massive gallstones.
Okay.
So I had to get operated. I was a mess. And I had to get operated.
The gallbladder was removed.
The
About 10
gallbladder
years
was
ago.
removed. Not 10 years. I was in my early 20s. So I was about 23, 24.
Okay.
So about 6 years ago.
Okay.
And immediately after that, I think for me, everything went to hell starting there because my digestion became a mess. And then slowly, what started to happen was I started to develop these aches and pains.
Okay.
It hit a turning point for me in 2018 when I was traveling. I was on a work trip and I have a very hectic job. So that means I work through multiple different time zones. I'm traveling a lot. Last year, I think I did anywhere from January of 2019 to March of 2020, right before the pandemic shut down the world. I was on a flight every week.
Wow.
And it would be anywhere from going to Bangalore to Bangladesh to the States. And I was doing this every week.
Okay. Hectic. As
Hectic.
hectic as it gets.
As hectic as it really gets. Now, I started developing pain. So I come back from this one work trip. We were in Israel for 3 days. And I come back from there and I start developing this really bad pain going down my left hip into my leg. And then I didn't know what to do about it. So starting with physiotherapy, then there was this really fancy functional manual therapy that they call it. But what happened was I would go for the therapy. I would feel better for a couple of hours and the next day I was back to the same shit again. And then my grandfather and his side of the family have this essentially hereditary illness called Ankylosing Spondylitis. So on a whim, I got tested for that because it had gotten so bad that I would normally wake up about 9. I'm not an early morning person, but I normally wake up between 8:30 and 9. And one day it was about almost 11:30 or 12, and I was still in bed. So my sister comes into my room and she finds me. My bed is a little low. She finds me sitting in my bed and crying because I was in so much pain I couldn't stand up from the bed.
Wow.
And that was it. So I got tested and I turned out to be positive for ankylosing spondylitis. Okay. And then again, I went through a huge battle of depression because I'd seen my grandfather, his siblings, one of his sisters had ended up in a wheelchair. My grandfather is completely hunchbacked. He's now developed dementia because he can't hear anything because his auditory nerve is completely compromised by the spinal fusion. Another sister died in her 50s. So all in all, it's a very bleak diagnosis and it's really not a great life.
And the entire spinal bones, they all fuse.
They all fuse.
So ending up in a lot of pain and,
and deformity. Yeah. And that deformity causes a lot of problems, right? All your spinal nerves get compromised, right? You end up with a lot of pain. The pain, typically ankylosing spondylitis starts with a deformity in the sacroiliac joint. And then into the lumbar spine where you start to develop arthritis in the facet joints of the spine. And that starts, so then I got an MRI done. And very early indicators of facet joint arthritis are seen. There is a deformity in the sacroiliac joint, which means my ligaments are stretched. What that means is my ligaments are hyperflexible to the point that they reach their breaking point. So no amount of normal people would respond well to stretching. I wouldn't respond to that because my ligaments would keep stretching and there was no... So then I had to do all sorts of ridiculous things. I bought a belt. I used to walk around with this huge, nasty belt on my hip. So I couldn't wear jeans. I couldn't wear tights. There were so many issues that started to happen.
At such a young age.
And I wasn't even 30, right? I was 28 at the time.
Right.
So at that point, I started to do some research, started to try and find out what can be done. And the bleak part about ES is there's no cure. as most autoimmune diseases don't really provide, it happens to such a small percentage of the population that it doesn't provide benefit to the pharmaceutical companies. I started hunting for solutions. I said, okay, there has to be something better. So you do your own research, you start to find out that the Western medicine says that, you need to take these tumor necrosis factor injections. But if you're living in India with those kind of infections, your immunity gets so destroyed that you will basically die of tuberculosis. So there's lots of problems. And then somebody, anecdotal stuff. Why don't you drink haldi tea in the morning? Why don't you do pranayam every day? Ashwagandha is a great immune modulator. But all of the anecdotal stuff that we're famous for. But nothing worked because there was no system to it. There was no science to it. Then one of my doctors suggested, why don't you try HCQS? Now, without doing much research into the
of course, HCQS has become very famous after the pandemic has hit us. or notorious is the more appropriate word, but anyway.
So I started taking HCQS. So if I think of my pain on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being no pain and 10 being the most unbearable amount of pain, my normal pain level started to hover around an 8. That was 365 days a year, no matter what I did.
Wow.
And I was consuming, I used to buy Advil from when I used to travel. A bottle of Advil is 120 capsules. That bottle would barely last me 3 to 4 months. So that's more than 2 tablets a day.
These are painkillers.
And then there was still at least 2 pattas of Voveran or Mobizox would also happen a month. So it was, and apart from the HCQS. So, and pain was still there. It was not gone. And when I would have an attack, that pain reaches 20. From if 10 being the most unbearable pain you felt, it reaches 20.
Can't imagine, yeah.
So when I spoke to Garima, and Garima, apart from I used to work with her at Max, so I know the internal workings of hospitals very well. So very little faith there. But I also, Garima is somebody that I had a personal friendship with and I trust her a lot. So when she suggested I reach out to you, I thought it was a really good idea. And to me, very honestly, Harish, this was the last resort. I didn't have anywhere else to go after this.
Mostly people come to us only as a last resort, never as a first resort.
I wish more people knew what you did so they could come to you as a first resort, but unfortunately, it takes time to, find the right person and the right, anyway.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing. It has now been 6 weeks minus any medication.
Wow.
My baseline pain has come back to 1.
Wow.
Which I don't think is possible anymore.
Wow.
I saw a dramatic decrease in my daily pain threshold within 2 weeks. But now, after the last cleanse that we did over the weekend and the new stuff that you've had me kind of do, it's come down even more.
Beautiful.
My stomach, which was always irritated, whether it was from the influx of medicines or whether it was the gallbladder, my stomach is much better.
Okay.
In the middle, because I used to travel so much and I was getting obviously colds and coughs and normal things that happen to you, my sinuses had gotten completely clogged.
Right.
But I was taking so much medication, I didn't realize that I was having a sinus infection. A lot of the things you told me have gotten rid of the sinus infection. Then because my digestion had gotten so bad, I developed piles, I developed a fissure. In fact, I got my fissure operated
my God.
in right before lockdown. The day lockdown was announced, in fact, I got discharged from the hospital. But the stuff that you suggested to me has brought me more relief than the surgery did.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
My skin is better. My hair is better. I'm getting more restful sleep, even if on particular days I'm sleeping less. My sleep is more meaningful.
Beautiful.
I started to lose hair because of all of these medicines.
Yeah.
At least my hair, I don't know whether it's growing back, but at least it stopped falling.
Excellent.
The amount it's falling is reduced.
You see that on your pillow or whatever.
My pillow, when I washed my hair, you know how much hair. I used to have a full clogged drain of hair in the tub, which is now gone away.
Excellent.
So, I don't know. I feel like it's not been one thing, right? And I can't, I don't think you can attribute health to one factor. What I can attribute my health to is that I've got more energy. even though I'm on sort of a much more restricted diet than I normally would be. I haven't lost much weight, which is always a big issue of concern for my family, that, you'll go on some diet and you lose a lot of weight, and already being underweight, that's a massive source of concern. But I started to see the benefits in my productivity, in my happiness. When you're not in pain all the time, you're happier.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Excellent. There were one or two things more that I remember. Headaches were the order of the day, and your periods were extremely painful, if I remember. You had even fainted once at the age of 13 when you had a period. It was that painful, and you would take a lot of painkillers every time. I mean, it was a dreadful event happening every month.
Yeah.
Where is that?
I'll start with the periods. The first month, I struggled through my period, but we worked. I didn't take a single medicine. Normally, it would be 4 to 6 tablets a day for 4 days, just specifically to deal with menstrual cramps. This month, I didn't even feel it. I never felt the PMS, and I felt some pain on the first day, but it was very bearable, and it went away. And then the other interesting, I started talking about it, because I travel so much, my sinuses have gotten completely clogged. But I was taking so many, and I started waking up with a headache every day. But I was taking so many painkillers in any case that I didn't realize why that headache was there. So the first 3 days that I started my therapy with you, I thought I was going to die, because I had this pain between my eyes that just wouldn't go away. I couldn't open my eyes. I was walking around, like I couldn't eat. I was just nauseous all the time. And 3 days later, that went away, and it never came back.
Wow, 6 weeks now.
6 weeks now. And I can breathe. At one point, I got a little bit of a cold in the beginning of in the middle of the summer. And because my sinuses were blocked and now I had a cold, I couldn't breathe. So there was this massive panic that you've gotten COVID, that your oxygen, so there was oxygen tanks being brought out, and all sorts of ridiculous things were happening. And I remember even speaking to Garima, and she said, Vrinda, why are you breathless? It's all gone. I'm breathing fine now.
And last but not the least, there was something else about there was an outgrowth of piles and stuff like that.
Yes, I talked about that.
You said the anal fissures, but the piles also has almost disappeared.
Almost disappeared. And I'm more comfortable now than I was after surgery.
I mean, whatever I've struggled with so much last 5 years, to see that there is hope. Right? There is hope for a better quality of life than what I've seen my elders go through.
Right.
Itself is has been a revelation for me. I didn't even know it was possible.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm so happy.
So I want to say
Vrinda,
thank you for giving me my life back. Yeah.
No. So Vrinda, all I would say is
my life back.
Yeah. You've done it to yourself. You've taken that leap of faith. We are very, very happy that you believe that in the possibilities that life has to offer, as opposed to what you have known for so many years. And you've, been disciplined. You've done what you had to do, and life has changed for you. So we are extremely happy to be a small part in this journey in your life.
It's not just about managing one facet of my life, right? So I could say that there were so many different ailments. There was these migraines, there was the period pain, there was overall unhappiness because of, like you said, such a bleak future. Everything was just going so downhill that there's such little to hold on to in order to pull yourself back up. And I feel like most people who suffer from long-term illnesses, whether it's immune conditions, whether it's breathing conditions, and a lot of us do, right? A lot of us suffer from these chronic illnesses, which overall don't just affect your physical health, but also your mental health and your ability to function. And I think that for most of us who go through things like that, Western medicine just shuts its doors and says there's nothing we can do. My sister, for example, had allergies. And I remember taking her to an allergy specialist who basically said there's nothing I can do.
And today life has changed for her drastically.
Her allergies are gone. Touch wood, but her allergies are completely gone. She's a different person. And I appreciate the commitment that you and your entire team has had, whether it's been working with us on prescribing certain things that we need to do, how we need to eat, how we need to think of our bodies, but also the level of commitment, the call at 11 o'clock at night, the call at on a Sunday afternoon at 9 p.m., Sunday evening at 9 p.m., when we've all gone through ups and downs in this process. And I think it's, I'll give you another small data point, which is absolutely brand new. My mother has suffered from migraines since the age of 17. They're a combination of stress and stomach related. And she, I think, takes all of her bad energy and bundles up in her stomach and gets constipated, and then she gets these migraines. And till 2 months ago, my parents were traveling. They'd gone to Dehradun with their friends, and she got a migraine when she woke up in the morning, the day they were traveling. And she spent the whole night throwing up. They had to call a doctor at 5 in the morning to give her an anti-nausea and a Voveran shot for a headache to go away.
God.
She hasn't started working with you, but she's just changed. She's been eating some of the leftovers of what my sister and I have been eating. And she's implemented one thing. I asked her to try that one, painkiller remedy that you had given us. She's not taken her SOS migraine medicine in now 3 weeks.
Wow. Isn't that powerful? Isn't that powerful?
This woman has lived on that. She used to take 2 a day.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Prinda, for sharing.
Even working with you. This is just a tertiary benefit.
I told you hers was the easiest case to solve.
Yeah.
So very happy.
She's still going to work with you, but this was just, she just told me, she says, she very proudly, she comes and tells me, Prinda, I haven't, because I had this massive fear. I was like, Mama, the amount of painkillers you eat, you're going to get a perforated bowel and you're going to have a heart attack.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And she wouldn't listen to me. And then finally one day, my dad pointed this out. He's like, why don't you try this? The girls swear by it. And she was fine. No medicine.
Beautiful. 3 weeks, for someone who's been taking 2 shots a day, having 2 pills a day or whatever for a migraine. 2
pills a day, and every second
since
week
the age of 17. Wow.
Yeah.
We are so very happy. And it also tells us there are such simple solutions to life's problems. We don't have to go and suck or have a pill and kill ourselves with the side effects.
And I'll give you one more data point. This lady has had 3 times. Doctors told her nothing we can do about your migraines. One suggestion we have is that come in and we'll give you 35 Botox shots in your scalp and in your neck. And she's gone through that 3 times and the migraines didn't go away.
My God. And here's a simple solution where she doesn't need something for 3 weeks and just a tertiary benefit, as you say.
Yeah.
Extremely happy for you, Vrinda, for the family, for everybody else who's taken this leap of faith to change their lives. Yes. And inspiring a lot of other people to do the same. Thank you so much. Extremely grateful and very, very happy for you and the entire family.
Thanks, Harish. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you so much. I think it's beautiful.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.